long line of tinkering that has made our subnational government structures more fragmented, complicated, opaque, and financially unsustainable. That the opening clauses enumerate 13 types of so-called strategic authority proves that point unambiguously. And such complexity has sown confusion amongst councils, voters and government, preferring the wants of the administrative state over the people, taking power further and further away from residents and business to the dead hand of Marsham Street. Over 20 years as a councillor, I have seen a mania from officials who live in the London borough bubble to tidy things up outside the M25 for their own bureaucratic convenience. And this is just another attempt to lard on half-baked new structures in a half-done settlement that is already unwinding and unravelling before the legislation has even passed. Because, as an example, the budget announced that mayors could raise a new tourism tax. In her opening remarks, the noble lady lauded that. Surrey was promised a mayor to do it. Now it's been taken away in the same breath as the mayoral elections have been cancelled. The bill asks mayors to write growth plans in pursuance of the urgency of driving economic growth. I thought this government was all about growth, and the mayors were the key to unlocking it. Clearly not. Not urgent after they've been delayed for 2 years. Now, I've heard it all before. Let's get rid of the districts and all the 86 things that the residents value the most, that they do. And it'll all be lost in a system where 70% of the money is spent on adults and children's services, but nevertheless, somehow it'll all be all right. And it's all nonsense. If we were really interested in community empowerment, the government would sort out the system where 3/4 of local government expenditure is spent on the 5% of the residents who need social care and special educational needs and disabilities. But on this, the bill is silent. In another can kicked down the road. Nowhere in this bill does the government set out what local government is for. There are lots of administrative functions listed, but none viewed through the lens that if it's not foreign policy or defence, it's capable of being done locally. And it's not hard to articulate a purpose, because local government exists to raise a family, to grow a business, to invest in local infrastructure and protect the local environment. But on this, the bill is silent. Instead, we get 380 pages of schedules and impenetrable processes so complex and convoluted, they come round to meet themselves in the opposite direction without working out whether it benefits either the resident or the firm. And as if to prove that point, whole parts of this bill contain duplicative provisions for mayoral or non-mayoral authorities, with extra discriminations between London and everywhere else, in a metropolitan apartheid that's all about shoring up Labour's electoral heartland at the expense of everyone else. Because, my lords, there are more councillors within the M25 than in all of the county councils of England. 3,108 electors get to choose a councillor in London, but in the Shire counties it's typically more than 10,000. Now that is a cynical dilution of democracy. Schedule 28(6) of the bill is all about reorganisation everywhere apart from London and the Mets, Birmingham and Manchester. Funny that. It's nothing less than a gerrymander to save Labour's councillors in the city while pursuing Labour's war on the countryside by other means. The title of this bill is a confidence trick that promises more structures, not fewer, mayors able to raise unlimited taxes for things they have no control over, new combined authorities with dodgy decision-making provisions, confusion between tiers, and even the smallest scale powers like taxi licensing, transferred up to strategic authorities without the systems, staff or experience to execute them. Proud city councils disbanded and relegated to parish council status with unconstrained council tax raising powers. A vandalisation of our historic county boroughs and cathedral cities, losing their identity, civic pride, including their Lord Mayors, sheriffs and lieutenants. And county councils with their pension funds, which the Chancellor wants to control, split up. Destroying the districts, which do the things that people value the most, with net budgets only of around £10 to £12 million. But scoop up the most vulnerable people Labour tells us they're most concerned about. And worse, we now get a new war on the motorist, with new civil enforcement powers for traffic conventions. This is not a bill about empowerment. It's disempowerment and centralisation, a disembowelment of local accountability, because part of community empowerment is all about helping people stand for election. But the bill actually makes it harder for single mums, community-minded businessmen to stand with larger councils further away from anybody else, so it relies more and more on the rich and retired motorist. That's the effect of Labour's vision for devolution and empowerment. More layers, taking powers further away from people, whilst creating a new professionalised councillor class. Now, I've heard it said it'll save money. But the people that called for this in 2020 now say it won't save a bean. Look at Somerset, bankrupted by an LGR process that is now to be visited elsewhere, and pension strain costs of at least £1 billion, which we know will have to be factored in, but have not been calculated so far to be borne by the local ratepayer. And when we look at the parishes, Salisbury District Council, for example, converted from a city to a district, council tax is up 44% in 4 years to a £383 Band D, a stealth tax if ever there was. And then right at the end, fly-tipped, some provisions on investment sapping commercial rent reviews, as if that improves devolution or community empowerment, well-meaning but counterproductive. Let's pin the tail on the donkey. Everyone affected will pay more for less. It's all about top-down, not bottom-up. And we should send the bill back under the Trade Subscriptions Act, because it's neither devolution nor community empowerment.
Madam.